Mr. Levy, thank you so much for joining us on America's Now.
Thank you for having me.
Is Rio ready for the games? There have been concerns about the water in Guanabara Bay, the Zika virus, infrastructure delays. Do you think we will see a successful games?
I'm pretty sure we're going to see successful games. Rio is ready. We've been working very hard for 7 years. We made a huge investment. We trained thousands of people. People are already working today. We run test events. We tested 50 sports in the competition area that are going to happen. We tested the transportation systems. It's just that the amount of scrutiny that the games get is just incredible. So everybody wants to see, everybody wants to know what's happening. So every little thing kind of being exploded in the media. But we're pretty sure that's going to happen and it's going to be a success with the special flavor of the Brazilian people.
That being said, there is always that scrutiny. The same questions come up anytime any city hosts the Olympic Games. Is that right?
Yes.
But you mentioned investment. How much has been spent on these Rio Games? We saw 2 years ago with the World Cup, Brazil spent about $11 billion. That's a lot of money. So what are we seeing here as far as money with Rio?
It's very important to understand the distinction between two budgets. The first budget's $8 billion for infrastructure, and it's basically spent on public transportation. There's new highways, new subway lines, new buses, like new trains, new light trains. And this $8 billion will spend for something that's going to be used by the population after the Games. They're going to stay. That's the legacy of the Games. The second budget, and this is basically funded by government money, by taxpayers' money. The second budget, which is the operations of the Games, which is around $2.5 billion, it's all private money. It's sponsorships, it's selling tickets, licensing deals, television rights. So this is separate sources, different ways to spend that money. And it's very important for people do not mix those two. So during the World Cup, these things were mixed up. We don't like that. We took a different approach. It's easier for the people to understand where this money is coming from. So the government money, the taxpayers' money is going for things that's going to stay after the Games. People are going to be able to use it forever. And the other budget, which is the private money, goes for the show, for running the Games, put them to work, making it beautiful. So it's two different things.
So would you say it's even fair to compare the World Cup and Brazil as a whole hosting the World Cup versus Rio hosting the Olympic Games?
We learned with the Olympic Games a lot of things. For example, we learned how to make that distinction. We learned security. We learned how to secure the place, how to use the security forces. We learned a lot of things in the Olympics. But it's very different because the World Cup is spread across the country and the Olympic Games are all in the same place. We had around 600 athletes in the World Cup. We have 12,000 athletes in the Olympic Games. Then we have the Paralympic Games just afterward. It's a much larger period of time. So it's different efforts. We learned something. There's things we're doing differently. For example, we have been very worried about not delivering any white elephant, things that are not being used after. So our arenas are smaller or temporary. We didn't build any single big arena that can be commercially used afterwards. So we did that, and we learned that in a way with the World Cup.
One of the biggest concerns that has been all over the news has been the Zika virus. Rio has the second highest number of Zika cases in the entire country. We've already heard that Irish golfer Rory McIlroy will pull out of the Games. What would you tell to the athletes and the fans that are coming to Rio who are concerned about Zika?
Well, Rio just started the winter months. So Rio is now in cooler temperatures, and everybody knows that the mosquitoes, they don't survive in cooler temperatures. So I think it's a mistake for any athlete to say they're not going to Rio because of Zika, because the curves show very clearly that this number is very high in February, March, and then starts to go down. And today, we have at the organizing committee 4,000 people working. They're working around the city, and there's not a single case of Zika, not a single case of Zika among 4,000 people working there. So I don't see really any threat for the athletes, as it is clear that in the winter months, Zika is not a threat. The mosquitoes do not proliferate in cooler temperatures.
Zika has just been one of the major concerns. As we know, Brazil has been going through a lot of economic and political turmoil. Dilma Rousseff has been pushed aside. There's an interim president now. Did you ever think or worry that the Olympic Games could either be postponed or moved to another city?
No, I don't think it's going to happen. This is not going to happen. I think, on the contrary, I think the Games is an opportunity to unify the country, to show that it's possible to have in the same building living opposites, the Israelis and the Palestinians living together. So that's the Olympics all about. You know? It's a demonstration that peace is possible. And I think that would be a wonderful moment for Rio to show to the Brazilian people that it's absolutely possible and necessary to unify the country. So stop that fighting and that doesn't go anywhere, and unify in one single message. So we are not afraid at all of postponing or anything like that, because we think we have the right message.
How are ticket prices, tickets available for fans? Are they selling? There was also some concerns that the stadiums won't be full, people would not travel to Rio. Tourism in Brazil did not increase as was expected following the World Cup. 3.5 million people around the world, billion people around the world watched the World Cup on television. So what are your thoughts? Are there any concerns that you won't have any attendance?
Yeah, we sold already 70% of the tickets sold. The 30% we didn't sell, 50% of those, 15% of the total, are the football cities that's not in Rio, which is a surprise for us, because Brazilians, they love football. We were expecting the tickets of football to be sold very quickly. They were not. And, but we're using the torch relay around the country. Every time the torch goes in a different city, we then make a campaign of selling tickets, and they're starting to sell. The other 15% that are not selling are sports that are very unpopular. People don't really understand. So we're running a campaign to educate the people what are those sports. The sports are simply not popular in Brazil. And then there's a lot of preliminary games, but all the top tickets been sold, and it's another funny thing is the tickets that are not sold are the cheapest tickets. We have $20 tickets. We can buy it in 4 installments of $5 each, and those tickets are not sold yet. So we think last minute they will be sold.
As we get closer to the games, just a few weeks out now, what are some of the last minute challenges? What are some of the issues that you're trying to tie up?
The largest challenge is that we deal with hundreds and thousands of parts, the transportation, the food, the accommodation, the security, all this. And we never had the chance to test all working at the same time. So really, to be in the first day that they're going to see everybody, it's around 300,000 people working together. And this coordination, we tested every one of those parts, but we have never been able to test everybody together at the same time. And this would just happen in the first day. That's why in every game, the first day is the most difficult. So that's the one that's really worrying me right now. But I'm pretty confident the people are ready, and we're willing. And the population in Brazil in general are very favorable for the games. We have 70% approval rate, which is by far bigger than London or other cities. And we think when everybody gets together, it's going to be a beautiful party.
Mr. Sidney Levy, thank you so much for joining us on America's Now.
Thank you.